Hello and welcome back to Dicebreaker, where today we played Skulk Hollow.
Skulk Hollow!
Which comes from Pencil First Games and is absolutely gorgeous.
The design on this thing is brilliant. It's just lovely.
It has like a really sort of like bright and vibrant art style, but it's also just the component quality is excellent.
Yeah.
And I want to kick things off with the nerdiest thing I've ever done, which is an inlay review. Because my God, Johnny, we've talked about a lot of inlays on this little series.
We have, in fairness.
But oh my, just look at this beautiful thing. So you've got like custom deck boxes for each of the creatures you can play as, all with their own little meeples in. It's all perfectly laid out. You've got little bits for your tokens, and then your board goes on top. There's even a little shelfy bit so that you can shove these bits of card into, they say.
It is very neat.
Fantastic. And it just, I think when you've got something this pretty and you also have that level of quality in the inlay as well,
yes,
it just makes the whole thing feel so sort of worth the money. Almost.
It makes it feel, much more vibrant. For me, what I really like is the sense of scale you get. Because this is sort of the world map, which we'll get onto in a second as we sort of explain the game a bit better. And this is a meeple to represent the monster. But sort of, when you get to the point where you're actually fighting on the monster, like Shadow of Colossus style, this is the scale, like, these are the little pieces that one team is controlling, and they're this big! They're this big! So it really gives you a feeling that when you're playing as sort of like this team of heroes, you're like, oh, that thing is absolutely massive. And I don't know, well, you were the one who played as the big swingy, stumpy bear, so you can tell me how powerful that did or did not make you
it does feel like I've got like a swarm of ants crawling all over my skin, which is always fun. But essentially how this game works is it's a 1 versus 1 sort of asymmetric tactics game in which you are playing either a giant sort of forest guardian who's trying to reclaim territory back for nature, or Foxen heroes who are from the land of foxes and are trying to protect their homeland, which they've built up. So it's a bit of a great argument.
Empire of trash.
But essentially, the way that it works is you're going to be playing on this board, and you actually have to have it in this sort of diamond shape. So you'll have one player on this side who will be playing as the Colossus, and they'll start over here, and then one player is playing as the foxes, and they'll start with a leader and a sentinel over here. So the goal of the game for the sentinel is to, I don't know why I keep calling it the Sentinel, because that's one of your characters. For the Guardian, is to kill off the enemy leader or to fulfill their own little objective, which is different with every character you can play as. And then for the Foxen heroes, they just need to damage every single area on the Guardian. Take down its whole health value.
It is a very Shadow of the Colossus thing where you're just leaping around, holding on, and just stabbing bits of it, basically. Which does feel it feels very daring. Like in the game we just played, like I got 2 characters onto you, I was like, here we go now. Like the whole game has just changed. Whereas before, even getting close to you without some of my weaker hero units just being zapped into dust was quite intimidating at the start, especially when, you sort of, the actions you can take is entirely dependent on the cards you draw, and movement cards are
very
honestly
specific.
They're specific and quite scarce when you've got a very specific move in mind. So you're sort of like, okay, well I can move this dude a bit closer, but if he's got a stomp card, I'm just going to lose that unit, and that's going to suck. It's interesting.
Yeah, it's very intuitive as well, because it's like it has that same sort of setup as Memoir 44, where it's like, you don't have to make a million choices in your turn, because the only things that you can do are what's in front of you. So you grab a card and you play it, and you either choose the top or the bottom action. So for example, I can either move in this pattern, which in this case would be sort of like this X shape, or I can do a stomp, and all of the abilities that you have are just sort of explained on your little character sheet. So obviously for the monsters it's always different, but for the Foxen heroes they can either leap, which means they'll jump onto the monster and move around it. They can deal melee damage where they hit the target that they're on. They can do missile damage, which is dependent on the character, but they're usually just shooting at a target on the character. Or they can prepare, which means they can sort of cycle their deck a bit. So it's like very, very simple actions. But then you also have this sort of added flexibility by using these power tokens. So one of your other actions is to gain power, which you put it in your pool, and then you can use that on a character, like your leader here, for example, to do a free action. And because you have a limited number of actions, they're incredibly useful. That was really, really important.
That was really good, actually. Like, there's an interesting element when you're playing as the Foxen heroes of, it's not quite push your luck in the same way you'd get from, like a roll and write game, for example, but there's you have a choice to make quite often between going for broke and like preparing in the hopes that you'll just top deck that card you need to do something really cool this turn, or trying to play it safe and just generate some power and set up your character for the next turn. And the choices you make, obviously they're quite influential, but the ones you're more likely to take change depending on what phase of the game you're in. Because early on, when I was just trying to get somebody, like anybody, onto your character, I was gambling a lot, just being like, I'm gonna prepare and hope I just get on there. And then the minute I was actually on there, I was like, I've got time now.
Yeah.
Because unless he draws a very specific action, which is throw in this instance, or after I damaged it enough to take that ability out of your pool, I was like, I can just prepare for next time and start thinking a bit more strategically, which is very, very useful.
Yeah, so we should point out the most interesting thing I think about this, and the reason it feels very much like you're playing like a big mech or something, is that if the Fox and Heroes can do enough damage to a location on your body, for example, my throwing arm, then if you kill off the throwing arm, you can no longer use those throw actions until you use an amend ability to take one of those points of damage off. Which means that you're physically like shutting down as these little characters are like coming up and stabbing bits off of you.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's really, really like thematic. Like it feels like I'm in like a big Power Rangers mech, and oh no, my arm fell off, so now I can't use my rocket launcher. Yeah. And it's like, it's super like, and it's really cool. You feel like the captain of like it's like Neon Genesis or something.
Yeah.
So I'm just like, I'm presumably pissing myself in a robot, but like it's really, really harrowing seeing all these tiny little things crawl up you, especially when you're playing like the base character, which is this big bear called Grak, because he only has one ability which can get him off. One ability which can get the foxes off of him is what I meant to say, and that card is only one card in the deck.
Yeah.
Unless you use a second card which allows you to use any action. So once they're on you, it's almost impossible to get them off for most of the game. So it's terrifying.
It's like ants.
Exactly.
Once they're in.
But the really, really cool thing about this, which I hinted at the start, is there's multiple monsters you can play as, and they're all completely different. So we're playing as a big bear, but why not play as a giant worm who has ridiculous amounts of locations?
That's bananas.
So
but they're all very weak.
Yeah, so for example, when you take out one location, it's associated with one of the actions. So if you took one stab out here, then that means that character can no longer stab. But because all of these locations are linked to stab, you only have to take one of them out, which means that you're completely ruining one ability.
It's really smart.
Yeah, so they can also burrow around and sort of tunnel underground, or they can use slamming abilities to do damage. Then you've got like this massive bird thing, which can like turn into a flying creature, and suddenly you can't mount it anymore.
I was really hoping that we were going to be able to play with this one, because we put it to Twitter, and Twitter chose the bear, which is cool, it's fine, but I saw the bird and was like, yes please, give me this.
So the bird has, and like I said, all of them have their own special abilities that they're running for. So for example, the one that I played as when we were first suiting up, when I was doing a practice round of Alex Meehan, this is Tanthos, or I think it's pronounced, but it's like a giant electric squid monster. So not only does it have a shock ability, which means that I can actually damage things that are on top of me, which is really useful, but it also comes with extra meeples. So not only does it come with like a separate meeple for the character that you're playing as, which is really cool and thematic, in a different color, so you feel like you're really different from the last thing that you were trying. So I'm now a giant squid. But not only that, I can also spawn tentacles that I like push through the ground and bring back up in other locations, which I can like use as other units. And it's like I can pull things into the tentacles and smash them with them. Like everything about, you feel incredibly powerful.
Yeah.
But my favorite thing about this is, because you've got that sinking feeling of like all of your like limbs shutting down, it feels like there's a real like narrative arc to the game, where it's like you come out all guns blazing, and we just did a Let's Play. I came out and I was zapping things to death left, right, and centre.
Yeah, it was a lot.
I was like almost halfway up my kill 8 units track. Yeah. And I was like, I'm feeling great. And then you took one ability out, and I was like, oh no. Oh no, where have my arms gone? Yeah. Oh god, my head's broken.
There was definitely a swing to it. It's kind of like when you're playing Root, and like somebody who's playing the Marquise de Cat storms into the lead, and you know they'll get to 20 victory points before anyone else has really got their engine going, but those last 10 are so much harder. Yeah. It got to a point whereby I stopped putting up quite so many units, And in order to do me damage and actually gain more kills, you were having to get that throw card and hope that I wasn't able to just simply get back on the following turn. There's a lot of sort of luck to this in a way, and because it's just 2 players, you do end up watching the other person, see if they're like from the get-go and they're telling me like, all right, well here I'm going to. They're like, I'm going to prepare, and you wait to see whether inside they're like, huh? Or whether they look really, really happy. It feels really fun and adversarial, but there's just so much variety in the way it plays out that I think it's just like, it's really fun and engaging. I sort of want to play this again.
Yeah, and I have to, and I'm sounding like such a dweeb here, but I have to shout out like this inlay is such a, it's such a little chocolate box. Because I opened it up and I was like, ooh, who am I going to play? Should I play the big squiddy boy or play the big bird? And then you open up your little box and you've got your custom meeples and you've got your nice deck.
It is
and
really smart.
It's all so like evocative and it's so inviting. And it's so beautifully brightly coloured, and I love the cute little fox meeples. Like, it's such a wonderful production. Like, you can see all of the elements coming together really well.
Yeah, there's almost something very arcadey about it.
Yeah.
You're like, pick your thing, Tantos.
Yeah. Pick your fighter.
Exactly.
And it's like there's so many games that we've seen now where you've got something that it might have really beautiful art, but then it's in like one of those like fantasy flight boxes where they just dump everything in.
Yeah.
And it's like there's just something about the complete level of just 100% production value pushed up on every single part of it that I really, really appreciate on this. And I think, especially with such a physical product like board games, I think it's such an important thing to really show like, oh yeah, that feels nice, and oh yeah, that feels good, and oh wow, I love picking that out of the box and stuff like that.
Just makes it easier to delve in and then to delve back in.
Yeah.
We're like, oh okay, should we play again? Sure, we don't have to do a load of like gathering stuff back in. It's just like cards, meeples, board, whack, straight in the box. New monster, let's go again. Do you want to swap?
I mean, you also get like, because we keep talking about the monsters, but there's also 4 different leaders that you can play as for the Fox and Heroes as well. So you were playing as the Prince of Guile.
I was.
Which basically allows them to bring back cards from their discard pile.
Which was so tempting. I was like, why would I ever play as anything else?
Yeah.
Then there is the Princess of Tactics. Oh, that's useful. Spend 1 power to allow a banded hero unit to take any available action.
Yeah,
that's
pretty
kind of
good.
handy. You can remove a wound, you can just heal up. You can be the
just-
King of War.
He's just pretty tonk, I think. I think that's basically his ability.
pretty hench. Yeah, it's interesting. Like again, like the Prince of Guile being able to recall cards was just so crucial for me because I was up there and I was like, I've got no attack cards, but if I just spend both of these power points that I've nested on this card to recall 2 melee points, I can take out an entire ability and get myself some breathing space, and that was just great. I don't like the Prince of Guile's haircut, possibly because it's quite similar to mine.
Yeah.
And I'm worried that I look like a dweeb because he looks like a dweeb.
I think he just looks like a young person in his dad clothes. I think that's the...
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, look at his little knee pads or whatever. Like, fox skulls don't have jaws that big, surely.
It's a very Disney version of a skull, isn't
It's
it?
like
It looks
he's-
like it's about to start singing a song.
Exactly. Well, it's like he's hunted Tony the Tiger. He's like, come here, you've survived improbably on sugary corn-based cereals for too long.
Yes, that's how hammers work. So,
Oh, he's got a hammer.
so yeah, this is Skulk Hollow, not Skunk Hole, which
No,
we've been
not
accidentally calling
Skunk
it a lot. And I'm really, really impressed with it. I'm actually kind of annoyed that we didn't do a review, but we just didn't have the time, unfortunately.
We did not.
We've got a lot of stuff going on right
So
now.
much.
But yeah, really, really impressed with this. I think it's gorgeous. I don't think it costs very much as well, which whilst you say some things, I'm going to Google.
Who would win in an actual fight? An octopus or a bear? They just sort of cling on, but eventually maybe the bear could be like, it depends if its throwing arm is still working. Please save
It's
me.
about 30 to 40
Thank
pounds.
you so much.
So yeah, I
It's
think
not-
considering that's like a, especially if you get it for around 32, which I just saw.
Right.
That's
Yeah.
English pounds, so probably what, like $35, $38, something like that.
Probably $32, let's face it.
God.
Thanks. Anyway.
I think it's like it's a really, really good value proposition for just how gorgeous it looks. Even just like the front cover, I think is really pretty. It's like a really sort of minimal big Colossus attacking the logo. With
Personally,
little
this
foxes
is
hanging
just me, but sometimes like when it's solely a 2-player game, I'm like, ooh, that's quite a lot to drop on a 2-player game. But at the same time, if you're going to buy a 2-player experience, this is a very easy one to convince other people to get on board with, I think. And it's just like, it's a
It doesn't
giggle.
take long at all to explain the rules.
No,
as
it really
well.
doesn't.
And I think like a lot of it is just straightforward, and you kind of just, you get from the design of the thing, right? So like, for example, your little stomp cards or you know, throw cards or whatever, you don't have to explain all the abilities because you get a little reference card that you just give to the other player.
That's
It's
lovely
like,
as well.
Here's all the things that I can do.
It's very open-handed.
Exactly. Or the fact that you can only have a certain amount of meeples on one space. You've just got little spaces there. You've also got little heart spaces there. It's all just very readable.
Yeah.
I think that really goes a long way of just making it as easy as possible for people to pick up.
It's iconography without obfuscating. Like,
Yes.
if you look back at stuff we played, like Black Angel, which we really, really enjoyed, like, I think the video we put out on that game, half of it was us just going, this is hard to learn. Because it is, but this is super, super simple.
And then you can just flip them over and you just get the nice art as well.
Yeah, I can definitely see this being one of the ones we sort of just bring to a show and slap down for people to give a go.
Absolutely.
Because look at it, for crying out loud.
Absolutely gorgeous. I'm still enamored with the big squid meeple as well. What an absolute boy! Look at him. Anyway, this is Skunk Hollow or Skulk Hollow, if you know how to say the words.
Scrank Hole, who knows?
Yeah, it's very good. We are going to be doing a Let's Play,
Yes.
or rather, we've already filmed it and we're going to put it out tomorrow.
Yes.
But if you like the look of this and want to see it played, then we're going to be going up against each other. I'm going to be playing as the Big Bear because that's what Twitter decided. And Johnny will be playing as the Fox and Heroes. So if you want to see who comes out on top, then all you have to do is wait until tomorrow, or if the video is already out, then there should be a little link right here.
Watch it right now.
On the screen.
Also, you accidentally say get you off several more times, which is just funny.
Thanks very much for watching, and have a lovely day.
Goodbye.